Hi guys, you're welcome back. In today's tutorial, we shall be learning how to draft basic bodice pattern with waist dart in a very simple method. This is my starting point, which is indicate my shoulder line. If you are drafting your own, make sure you use pencil to avoid excess at the end of the day. But I'm making use of my marker to let you guys see what I'm drafting very well. So on my shoulder line, from the center front here, I'm going to impute half of my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 15 inches divided by 2, give me 7.5, which is going to be here. So from that point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So I'm going to connect it straight down. So this is my shoulder slope. On that same shoulder line, from the center front, I'm going to measure 3 inches, which is the standard measurement for neck width. So if you are making your own and you want it to be wider than that, you can just add to it. So from there, from this shoulder line now, for my shoulder, for my neck depth, I'm going to measure 3 inches as well, which is the standard measurement. You can later increase it, like I said. So I'm going to connect with the curved side of my ruler, just like this. So this is my neckline for the front part. And from here, I'm going to connect to this place for my shoulder slope, just like this. Now from here, to draw out my armhole line, I'm going to come down by 8 inches, which is the half of my round armhole, because my round armhole is 16 inches. So this is 8 inches here. So what I have here on my shoulder line, which is 7.5 inches, I'm going to measure it out from my center front. And to make it accurate, what I have here all together, which is 9 inches, from that 8 inches plus 1 inch for my shoulder slope, is 9 inches altogether. So I'm going to repeat it here just to make it accurate. And always make sure your measurement is accurate before you cut your fabric, please. So I'm going to connect straight down to meet my 8 inches for my shoulder, for my armhole line. And I'm going to connect here too to create my chest line. So now this is my chest line and this is my armhole line. Now I'm going to find the middle of this point and this point for me to create out my armhole curve for the front part. So the midpoint is 4 inches, which is here. So on that point, I'm going to come in by 0.75, which is 3/4 of an inch, and it's going to be here. So from here, I'm going to connect to this point slantly, just like this, and finish it up with the curved side of my ruler. Hope you understand what I'm doing. Just like this. So from my shoulder line now, I'm going to measure 10 inches, which is the apex of my bust. 10 inches, which is my bust point line. So I'm going to connect. So here's my bust point line now, and it's also called apex of the bust. So this is my bust point line. From shoulder, I'm going to measure out my under bust line, which is 13.5, and it's going to be here. I'm going to roll it out. Hope you can see what I'm drafting. And note, make sure you use pencil or pen while drafting your own to avoid excess at the end of the day. Just for you guys to see what I'm drafting, that is why I'm making use of my marker. So from my shoulder, I'm going to measure my waistline, which is 17 inches, and I'm going to connect. So this is my waistline. From my shoulder again, I'm going to measure out my hip line, which is the full length of my top, and it's going to be 23 inches, which is here. I'm going to roll it out. Now I'm going to label my lines. This is my chest line, my bust point line, my under bust line, my waistline, and my hip length, which is the full length of my top. So on my chest line, I'm going to input quarter of my bust. My bust is 36 inches divided by 4 is going to give me 9 inches. I'm adding ½ inch for ease allowance to it. That makes it 9.5 inches. I'm doing the same thing on my bust point line, 9.5 inches. On my under bust line, my under bust is 32 inches divided by 4 is going to give me 8 inches. I'm going to add 1 inch for that to it because I'm adding waist that, like I said earlier, that is going to be 9 inches. On my waistline, I'm going to input quarter of my waist. My waist is 34 inches divided by 4 will give me 8.5 plus 1 inch that will give me 9.5. So on my hip line, I'm going to input quarter of my hip to it. My hip is 38 inches divided by 4 give me 9.5 plus 1 inch, that will give me 10.5 inches, which is here. So I'm going to connect all the points now. Now I'm going to input my dart. On my bust point line from the center front, I'm going to measure out half of my nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7 inches divided by 2 will give me 3.5 inches. I'm adding ½ inch to it for this side, so that will give me 4 inches. The remaining ½ inch is going to be used for this other side, which is the side of the top. On my under bust line, I'm going to measure the same thing till I reach the bottom of my top, and I'm going to connect straight. So to get my dart now, I'm going to come down by 2 inches from my bust point line, which is here. From the down part of my top, which is the full length of my top, I'm going to come up by 2 inches as well. So on my waistline, I'm coming in by ½ inch on both sides. So I'm going to connect my dart like this. Just watch what I'm doing. So now this is my dart, as you can see. So to make it curve a little bit at the down part here, I'm going to measure from the down part, I'm going to measure 1.5 inch upward, and I'm going to connect from here to the dart with the cup side of my ruler, just like this. So now I'm done with the front part. So here's the front, and I'm cutting it on fold if I want to cut it on the fabric. So if I'm cutting on the fabric, I'm going to add all the necessary allowances to it. So assuming you want to cut it on the front, on the fabric, just make sure you add ½ inch, then ½ inch, ½ inch all through this place. For the side, you can add 1 inch or 1.5 inches depending on how much fabric you have. At the bottom, you can add 1.5 inches to it. Now I'm going to cut my front part. Now I'm done cutting the front part. As you can see, it's very simple to cut. So I'm moving on to the back part. Now this is my back part. Here is the starting point. So I'm going to measure from the center back here. I'm going to measure 1 inch for my zipper allowance all through, and I'm going to connect it straight down. So after that, I'm going to measure 3 inches for my neck width and 7.5 inches like I did on the front for the half of my shoulder, half of my shoulder measurement. From this point now, I'm going to measure 1 inch downward for my shoulder slope, and I'm going to connect just like that. As for the neckline to my shoulder slope, I'm going to connect it like this. I'm going to measure 1 inch for my neck depth. Remember, I'm drafting the back, so I'm going to connect it just like this with the cuff side of my ruler. So this is my neckline for the back part. As you can see, this is my shoulder slope. So for me to draw out my armhole line for the back part, I'm going to measure half of my round armhole, which is 8 inches, like I did on the front part. So to get it accurately, what I have here on my shoulder line, I'm going to measure it out here, which is 7.5 inches. So I'll easily connect straight down to meet the point for my for my armhole line, just like this. And I'm going to connect here. Before I connect it, to make it accurate, what I have here all together, I'm going to measure it out here, and it's 9 inches. So I'm going to connect now for my chest line for the back part. So here's my chest line for the back part. So from my shoulder line, I'm going to measure out straight down to my, since I'm drafting the back part, I'm going to measure out my waistline. I don't need to measure out my bust point or my under bust line. Note that, because I'm drafting out the back part. So from my shoulder line, I'm measuring 17 inches, which is my waistline, and I'm going to connect it straight just like this. So from my shoulder straight to the full length of my top, which is 23 inches, and I'm going to connect it straight 23 inches. So I'm connecting it straight just like this. So on my chest line, let me finish up with the armhole curve. I'll just connect like this. But before doing that, let me find the middle of this line, which is 4 inches, and I make sure I place the cuff side of my ruler on this midpoint for me to draw out my back armhole, just like this. Hope you can see what I'm doing. So this is my back armhole. On my chest line, I'm going to input quarter of my bust. My bust is 36 inches, divided by 4 is 9 inches, plus half inch is. So on my waistline, my waist is 34 inches, divided by 4 give me 8.5, plus 1 inch, that is 9.5, which is here. So on my hip line, I'm going to input half of quarter of my hip. My hip is 38 inches, divided by 4 give me 9.5 plus 1 inch, that is 10.5. So I'm going to connect from here to here and to the full length of my top, just like this. So I'm using the cuff side to make it curve a little bit. So and make sure you blend the sharp edge, please. So as for my dart, my waist dart, I'm going to come in by I'm going to input half of my nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7 inches, like I said on the front part, divided by 2 give me 3.5 plus half inch seam allowance, that is 4 inches. So I said I'm using half inch for this side. The remaining half inch will be used for this side. So I'm marking out, measuring out 4 inches on my chest line. I'm doing the same thing on my waistline, 4 inches from the center back. So 4 inches on the full length of my top as well. So I'm going to connect just like this. For me to create that for the back part, I'm coming down by 1 inch from my chest line. So from my hip line, I'm coming up by 2 inches. So on my waistline, I'm measuring half inch inward on both sides. So I'm going to connect from here to here, from here to here, and from here to here. Just watch what I'm doing. So this is the dart for the back part. So this is the dart for the back part now. To make it curve a little bit like I did on the front part, from the bottom of my top here, I'm going to measure 1.5 inch upward, and I'm going to connect to the dart here with the cuff side of my ruler, just like this. That's it. Here is the back part. So I'm cutting 2 pieces of this. You know, the back is going to be cut into 2. It's going to be split into 2. So I'm cutting 2 pieces of this and 1 piece of the front part. Since I'm cutting it on full. Lest I forget, to avoid the zip bug at the back part, to avoid folding at the back part on the waistline, I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch. I'm coming in by 1/2 inch just to avoid folding on the back part. So let me extend the line and measure 1/2 inch inward. So that 1/2 inch, I'll just connect it from here to here and from here to the up here. Let me extend this line as well. Always remember to do that to avoid zip bug at the back part, please. So I'm connecting slightly to meet the down part of my top, and I'm connecting slightly to meet the neckline, just like this. As you can see, so I'm cutting out this now to avoid the zip bug at the back part, to avoid folding at the back part. Here's my dart. So I'll now cut it out for you guys to see. Now that I'm done cutting, this is what I have for the back and this is what I have for the front part. If I want to cut it on the fabric, like I said, I'm cutting the front part on fold, while this back part is going to be 2 pieces because of the zipper side of it. If my tutorial has been helpful to you guys, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel to support my channel. If you have any question pertaining to cutting and sewing, you can join me on my Facebook group, Details to Sewing, created by Akorede Adenike. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Akorede Adenike. Please show some love by liking and following my page on Facebook at Akorede Adenike Sewing Tutorial. Till I see you in my next video, guys. Stay blessed, stay safe. Bye.